if I can do that. Let's see.
Somebody joined.
Good. So welcome to ODC. I'm your host, Big Jefe. And this week I have a special guest host, and his name is Rob Tehran. He should be on soon, unless he's already on. It's January 30th. And let's see, who's the one that joined? Oh, well, that's just that's going to be probably a listener.
That's pretty cool. Welcome.
Yeah. This is the third episode of season 2. And on ODC, we're back to kick this off. We have with us today, or we will have a podcast consultant and manager. Her name is Yali, but she'll join us a little later. And right now, we have a financial expert and self-care consultant, Naya.
Hi, guys. He's excited to hear me too.
Yes. So yeah, we're going to welcome you like ODC style.
Okay.
so they have this series. I'm being funny.
That's hilarious.
That was a long cheer. Huh?
Yeah, it was a long
one. They love you.
Oh my God, I love you guys too.
So you have a lot of experience with financial stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're gonna pick your brain today. Like I said, hopefully people can join in or ask them questions if they want. And our topic later is going to be setting healthy financial boundaries in relationships. Are you married or?
I'm engaged right now.
You're engaged. Mm-hmm. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, and how do you have any advice do you know like a trick to maybe being okay financially with like a partner? I know that being engaged is kind of like right at the beginning, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm engaged. I'm not married, mm-hmm. but I already share all my expenses and all my financial activity with my fiance. So it's pretty much like we mm-hmm. are already married. We're just missing the ring and the paper. So yes, nice. I have an advice, and it's definitely communication. You need to be 100% honest with your significant other about your financial status. You just can't go and pretend to be this rich person or someone who is spending a lot of money just to show up or stuff like that.
Ain't no cap in my rap. I really see in the trap. I'm really serving the pets. I'm really moving like that. Ain't no cap in my rap.
Because you're gonna get into a chain of lies, and you won't be able to keep going with that for a long time. So my tip number 1, and pretty much in general, is the communication and to be honest about your financial situation. If that person is the right person, she or he, they're gonna understand in the position you are, and they will help you.
Right.
And if you are able to just keep going with the relationship and you want to keep going with everything that you're doing, you will work together for a better financial situation as a couple. But don't lie about how much money you have or how much money you're spending.
¿Cuántos dicen amén a eso?
Amen to that shit. Right. And that's interesting you say that, because last episode we were talking, or I should say 2 episodes ago, we were talking to it's another podcaster that was talking about relationships and how trust is so important.
Yes.
So it does tie in, right?
Yes, perfectly.
And how did you become a self-help influencer or financial expert?
First, I don't like to call myself an influencer. I feel I don't know. it's a
I'm sorry.
big term. No, don't worry. It doesn't offend me, but I just don't call myself an influencer. And honestly, I just got into all this world because of bad experiences. So I got in the bad experience of spending a lot of money, like being like doing shopping or like going shopping all the time. And I went through really, really bad situations about money where it wasn't just me involved. It was also my friends. I honestly almost make my friend got like kicked out of our house because of me, because I didn't have the money to pay our rent. So that was like the bottom of everything. It was like, I need to do something about it. And I knew all this stuff about financial stuff and all this about money because I went to school for that. I just didn't like apply what I learned in school. So when that happened in my life, that was like the rock bottom, and I just needed to stop climbing up, like getting out of that. So that was like pretty much what happened.
Yeah, bad experiences I think do help us actually. And that's awesome that you got into that, and now you can help others.
I also try to like help people to understand finances from a easy point of view, because finances and everything that is related with money and budgeting and all that stuff, it's categorized as like hard. Like it's so hard to make a budget. It's so hard to handle my money. It's so hard to stop spending. So I've been just trying to look for ways to show people like, listen, this is not hard. You just need to do this, or you just can do it. And it's going to make your life so much easier. And that's pretty much like my purpose. If I had somebody to teach me that, or at least to show me how to do that, it would be way more easier than it was.
Right. Okay. Well, I just want to interrupt just 1 second. Just say Yalika is here and Rob is here. So Naya's on, guys, and we were just starting the talk about setting healthy financial relationship boundaries in the relationship. So if you guys have any questions for her, have at it.
It says Yalika is in the building.
Yes, I have just arrived. First of all, let me apologize. I was, speaking of finances, dealing with some issues at the bank. And it took a little bit longer than I expected.
Speaking of which,
they always try to sell you on everything, and they don't quite hear the fact that you're broke, But sorry about that, guys, for not being on this podcast on time. I know it's a live one, so yeah. I'd like to say hello to everyone. I'm not sure why, but it seemed like I couldn't quite hear everything that was being said. It was kind of like choppy. I don't know if anyone else heard it. Hopefully,
we're all new to this, so
Okay. So please go ahead and proceed with the topic of today. Don't let me hold you guys up any further.
All right. So let's see. Do you have any questions for Naya? I have another one, but I just don't want to overtake the whole thing. If you have something to say.
No. I came into the podcast as she was speaking about how she helps people to do their finances and so forth.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, so Naya.
Yes.
So how do you think that it's best? Like, what is some methods maybe that? And like I said, I'm picking your brain. I know I'm probably putting you on the spot, but what are like some methods you think that we should have, like, to set those financial boundaries in our relationship, and how important is that?
Okay, number one, you need to establish like your no negotiables, like as in your life, also in your financial situation. You should know what is stuff or what kind of expenses, let's say it in that way, you can like give a little bit more, and which ones you definitely don't, like which ones you say like, okay, this is something that it's totally what I need to do, totally something that I need to spend on, and not even if I get like a partner, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, or husband, that's gonna change. I give you my example. I always was a person, I've been always a person that wanted to save money towards trips. I love to travel before I had my fiance and even now that I'm engaged, and that's my non-negotiable. Like my finances, a part of my finances go to a percentage in my budget that I use for traveling. So when I was like in the beginning of the relationship, I always say that first, like I said before, like honestly with him, like all the time being clear about what I wanted, and my non-negotiable is traveling. So I feel like that's something that you need to do. Like stuff that is your non-negotiable, you need to be really clear about it.
Ooh, she's good.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know if you were going to say something. Yeah, I mean, like that's like the number one thing. The second thing is obviously making a budget. You need to establish a budget so you know how much money you have, how much money your significant other have, how much money you're saving, and how much money your significant other is saving. Because honestly, I don't feel like it's fair. This might sound a little bit selfish, but honestly, almost everything that comes out of money is selfish because it's your money. You work so hard for it. So you need to see in what financial situation is your significant other and in what financial situation you are. If you decide to be like a couple, you can help each other, but like setting those boundaries. Like I'm not gonna, for example, pay my future husband his student loan because it's his student loan.
If you're dealing with me, there's only one thing to remember. Pay your debts or end up hurt.
Like that's something that is his responsibility, not mine. So I feel like that's really important to establish when you are in a relationship, that boundary. Like what can I help with? For example, I can help like this week, maybe my husband doesn't have enough money to pay for the groceries. I can pay for the groceries this week and he can pay maybe next week. Like we are giving each other like a little bit more than we were supposed to. Like sometimes he needs my 80% and sometimes I need like his 80% in the relationship. So it's stuff like that. But for example, with his student loans, it's his responsibility. Unless it's like a really like bad situation, I'm gonna take over that. So it's like establish that type of stuff. What can I do more? What am I allowed to, not allow, but I want to, or I might do because it's a relationship, it's a teamwork. But what is definitely like my non-negotiable? That's super important to establish.
So I have a question.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yes, what's the question?
Okay. So my question is this. So in establishing the boundaries in a financial relationship, or financial boundaries in a relationship, rather. So how do you suggest like common bills? Because it kind of like what you were describing kind of seems like a roommate type of agreement. We split the groceries 50-50, we split the rent 50-50, or the mortgage 50-50. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes, it's different when you are engaged to when you are like really married. Because usually when you get married, everything becomes together. Everything becomes like, we have one bank account. Each one, I think it's better if we have like a bank account together. So everything is going to go to the same bank account and everything is going to come out from the same bank account. That doesn't mean that each one of us doesn't have a responsibility. Like it's not as much as like a roommate agreement. It's like knowing each other's responsibilities. Why? Because those responsibilities were before the relationship. And if something happened with the marriage or the relationship in general, those responsibilities are going to stay there. So it's different when you, for example, I go again to the student loans because I feel like that's one of the most popular. It's different to student loans to, I don't know, what's the name for the house? I'm sorry, my English sometimes fails me.
Mortgage.
Mortgage. If I'm going to get a mortgage with my husband, that's together. we need to pay that together. It's a responsibility that even if we get divorced or we separate or the relationship ends, we both have an agreement, and it's not just with each other, it's with a bank. So if we have that type of situation, of course, it needs to be from both of us. But it's important for setting the boundaries, like knowing each other's responsibilities. Like, of course, if you're going to see it like, oh, the grocery is 50-50, it's like the same if you put the money in the same bank account and you just go and pay the groceries with one card. Because the husband put the money, the wife put the money in the bank account, and even if it's the same account, each one is put in 50-50. It's just coming out from different sources.
Well, and playing devil's advocate.
Are you ready for the devil, man? Are you ready for the devil, man? Are you ready for the devil? Are you ready for the devil, man? Are you ready for the devil?
Let's say, the wife makes more money than the husband. Significantly more. Let's say, just to throw out numbers, let's say the wife brings into the joint bank account $5,000 a month, and the husband brings in half of that, $2,500.
Okay.
So, what is your take on how the responsibilities then translate? Because what you just said was that it's almost the same as 50-50 because everyone is putting the money there. Then also, part two to my question,
secondly,
is you mentioned establishing boundaries. So do those boundaries go from when you're dating to when you're married, or does that change?
I feel like the boundaries need to start when you're dating, because I've seen many cases in friends and families and like people that I know that, for example, the girl always wants to try to take advantage of the boy, of the guy, like making him pay for everything and like making him giving her things and stuff like that. So I feel like the first step to set boundaries should be like when you are dating, like what you are able to, like what's the point that you can get to when you're dating. So that's really important. Yes.
So in that example that you just gave about, the girls typically want to take advantage of the boys, about, buying them things and when they go out, the boy pays and etc. So when they're married, right, and both are putting money into the same account, does it matter if the boy uses his debit card that has his name on it, although it's coming out of both of their incomes?
I think it matters. That's the point of boundaries, because even it doesn't mean that you need to have a joint account when you get married. It's totally a choice. But if you set your boundaries, your husband or your wife, if you're making, each one, if it's making more money, it doesn't have, I don't know how to make this sound in the right way. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think. Like, it's like, for example, if I make money than my husband and we have a joint account and all my money is coming to that account, it's like a boundary. He knows I'm making more money. Probably still, even if we are married, we have a joint account, it's still being like my money because I'm making that money. We have like an agreement on what type of stuff we need to pay for together. He shouldn't be spending my money without telling me, even if it's in the same bank account, because I can have a purpose for that money. That's what I say at the beginning. Like, it might sound a little bit selfish because everything about money can go in a selfish way, but it's about boundaries. If you don't set those boundaries with your significant other, it's gonna happen that he's just gonna come and take my money without telling me and spend the money without telling me. So I feel like not necessarily, I just read the question. I'm sorry if I go ahead. Not necessarily you need to have joint accounts when you get married, but if you get joint accounts when you're married, if you have an account together, you still need to set those boundaries. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes. No, this is all based on opinions, and
Of
so
course.
I usually play devil's advocate and try to get more clarification. But
Yeah.
it seems like Jeff is saying once Yulika shuts up, so let me go ahead and shut up.
You can keep asking me everything you want to ask me.
No, she answered the question that Marvin, or I'm sorry, the real annoyed Pendergrass asked about, it seems to blur, and I thought it was an interesting question. It does seem to blur the boundaries if you saying that, married couples should or need joint accounts, but you're not saying that, right?
No, I'm not saying that. It doesn't need to, because that's the whole point of communication with your significant other. If you don't communicate that, for example, you're making more money and you don't want your significant other to take that money just for like random expenses, of course that person just might, if that person doesn't have like any common sense, I would say, because you don't take money that it's not yours, even if you're married. So without asking or without saying something, that's my point. I feel like you need to set those boundaries through communication. So those boundaries doesn't need to get blurred.
Okay, that makes sense. Rob, are you there?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
All right. Did you have something you wanted to add?
Got any questions,
Rob?
Our special guest host.
Yeah, actually, I was curious to hear a little of her background. We didn't get to hear anything from her as far as her experience or anything like that. But I did have a question regarding finances and couples regarding to the current state of, the world, and how situations like this, like COVID and, unemployment, and how that affects so many relationships. How does that change the game when you come into with certain expectations and again with this plan, right? And now here come the trials and tribulations of life that alter certain situations. Now people can't live up to these contracts or these, expectations.
So the first thing I gotta say is like people don't know that financial problems is like the first cause of divorce, especially in America. The second one is infidelity. So when you are looking at that, like you already know, when you hear that, you already know this is a problem. And if you get into the situation of COVID and financial problems because of COVID, and I don't have this contract, I don't have this job, probably you're having all those situations because of bad planification. What do I mean with this? What I mean is like most of the American people have stable jobs or have a good job, at least a job that is paying the bills and a job that allows them to save some money. And the average or the statistics show that the American people don't have even $1,000 in savings for emergencies. So if you have a bad situation because of COVID, and if you see many couples breaking up and all that stuff is happening because of COVID and the whole situation in the world, is because of bad planification. The first step as a couple that you should think of is building an emergency fund for this type of situations. Right now is COVID. You don't know what is going to happen in 2 or 3 years. You don't know if next month you're going to keep having your job. You need to have a fund where you go as a couple to get the money for survive and not having to worry about, oh, I don't have money. You have to worry about how can I make more money. So when you're saying that, it's definitely totally bad planification. I'm sorry.
Rob?
Makes sense. No, it makes sense. If you go in raw, then you have to learn the hard way, and a lot of times that's not going to work out. So if you plan ahead, then you can prepare. It's just unfortunately, a lot of people weren't able to, even with COVID, happening in China, nobody, at least what it's done over the last 8 months, there was no way to plan for it. But if you go in early relationship wise with a plan, then I guess that's easier than not without a plan.
That's why that's the important of boundaries, because if you as an individual have that type of boundaries, you get into a relationship saying like, one of my purposes or my boundaries is having this fun, you're going to carry on that into the relationship. Just as this person was saying, that if, for example, in a dating part, the girl's expecting all the time that the guy pays, that's going to carry over the marriage. It's the same with the fans. It's the same with the good habits. If you get into the relationship with good habits about your money, that's going to carry on into your marriage too. So it's just like setting that boundary, like not allowing, no. Like showing the other person, showing your significant other how is like the way how you do it and how that can be beneficial for both of you.
Well, and since we mentioned COVID, I will say that typically all of the financial gurus for financial planning, they always kind of recommend that you have at least 6 months worth of all of your bills saved.
Yes.
And with COVID, it's just been a huge curveball where even those that are able to save, um, if they only have 6 months worth of savings for living expenses, then it throws a huge curveball. And then I would imagine that would also create financial strife within the marriage, which then creates all kinds of stresses and everything else, especially if they just bought a home and both became unemployed.
Yes, that's a tough situation. But
I'll give you an example. I bought a truck just before the height of COVID, where everything stopped. And I was lucky that, we paid it cash, but the thought was, let me take out a loan and, pay on it so I don't have to give up all the cash. I was happy that, we paid for it altogether, because then, work just stopped. And this year, when I say this year, I mean 2020, financially, it was just a chaos.
Yeah, it's totally a chaos. But what I want to ask you about this is like, how many sources of income do you have? Because if we go to the financial,
well, in this case,
yes.
In my financial relationship, my wife and I work together, so all of our eggs are in one basket.
Exactly. Yeah, and
with us, whatever comes in, it's all ours. And we don't have that type of issue. Now we do discuss, in detail, a lot of things before we choose what to do, because we're self-employed. So, whenever we make a decision, it affects both of us. So we do discuss these things. However, when we discussed getting the truck, it was so that we could keep working and have the reliability and stop the financial bleeding of having to keep repairs and maintenance on the older vehicle that we used to have. And so at the time, it was a smart idea, and then of course COVID hit, and it's like, oh wow, thank God we paid for that. But now, how are we going to put food on the table? How are we going to keep paying the electric bill and the cell phones? Because we don't fall under that same category as, the rest of America that gets, a W-2 and taxes taken out and so on and so forth. So going into, like, for example, applying for unemployment, that's just not going to happen. I know that they, at the height of COVID, they mentioned, in the news several times that they were working out some sort of unemployment package for those that are self-employed, but the information on how to do so was not available. I did try to apply for unemployment under those premises, but, I'm still waiting for someone to get back to me. So, once again, we have no choice but to get out there and do what we have to do, for us to be able to continue living.
I understand what you're saying, because it's like, like the usual with people, like just having one source of income. And I mean, like financially talking, and this is unrealistic, and it's like getting to that point, like little by little, but financially talking, it's recommended to have between 5 and 7 sources of income. So if something like this happen, like what you're saying, eventually you will have another basket to go and grab your eggs. So my best recommendation is, like, I honestly don't know what is your job, what is your business about, but if you're doing that and it's giving you money, believe me, there are many more ways that you can make money with that exact same business in different ways. So I would recommend to just find another way. You're already in the digital era, so you just can try to figure out how to generate passive income, like through something that you're doing already, but just people go and get it without you being there. So I don't know if I explain myself, but it's like the whole point of everything, like taking what you are already doing and trying to monetize that in many different ways as you can possibly think of. So you don't go through the situation that many people is going through right now, thanks to COVID.
Mm-hmm. No, to us, we are considered essential services, so we were able to still go out and produce and operate our business. However, because of the COVID restrictions, a lot of our customers had to close up. So, that in itself brought us to a situation where, funding was very limited. Now, we always found a way, and yes, we do agree that you have to have more than, just the one basket to get your eggs from, and that's what we are working on still. But we do have that as well already set up.
Okay, I'm so happy for you.
Yeah. So, anyone else want to chime in about different scenarios here and how her point of view is?
I just want to say that we have I don't know if you answered or if you looked at some of the comments, but like from the real Lenoid Pendergrass, he says, as far as dating, if any party is looking for the other party to always pay that, it will carry on into marriage, but communication is paramount. And for a lot of people, financial planning is a cultural shift, and time preference, think of finance in the long term, is foreign in many households. So what do you opine about that, Naja?
Well, I know that financial education is not something that you get in a school or you get out of, like, I don't know, like a teacher or something like that. For you to learn financial education, pretty much you have to go through bad experiences, as happened with me and as is happening with many people right now in all these situations. So I feel like right now many people decide to give more time to different situations. Many people prefer to get home after a long day in work, like doing whatever they do, and they prefer to sit down and just watch a movie, which is amazing. I always say, you need to give time yourself and your significant other for this type of experiences, like sharing time together. But I feel like people don't give the time to talk about their financial situation with their significant other.
How are your finances going?
So I see it. I totally agree with that comment, because it's something to long term. Like, nobody was thinking about this whole situation with COVID, what's going to happen. And I used to see many people telling me, I used to like hear all these comments all the time, like, Naya, you're so obsessed with saving money. You are a freak saving money. Why are you saving so much money? Just go out, just enjoy. And I'm like, it's just about organization and how people really don't understand that this is a long-term situation. You never know when you're going to have an emergency.
911, what's your emergency?
That's why you need an emergency fund. So in case that you have an emergency, you just don't need to go to your credit cards. You just can go to your emergency fund. So it's something like that. It's something like people don't understand that it's like a long-term investment. Like it's money investment, it's time investment, but it's still an investment. And it's what is give you like some security about the future.
Take a break right here. We'll be back after this. We're back. Have you ever wanted to make your own podcast? Anchor can help. It's free. The creation tools allow you to record and edit right off your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you. It can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from it too, with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need in a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Back.
I have a comment to make regarding, financial planning being a cultural shift. To a lot of people, that planning is not even discussed because they just can't seem to make ends meet.
Baby, I ain't got no money, honey.
There's also that aspect of it, so how would you address that aspect to families or households that have the difficulty in making ends meet? Because when you live paycheck to paycheck, you're basically 2 weeks away from being bankrupt.
Yes. In that case, if you are living paycheck to paycheck, the first thing you need to do is track your expenses and see where your money is going. Because if you don't have any money, maybe you're driving your money, maybe you're paying a really expensive house, maybe you're using your money to buy stuff that you really don't need, and that's why you don't have money. There is always a reason about money. So if you're living paycheck to paycheck, the first thing is that track your expenses and see where your money is going.
According to federal standards, they say that the poverty line is, I believe, currently at $22,000 a year. If you make less than $22,000 a year, you are technically poor.
Yeah.
And,
technically, it's depending the state where you are, too.
Well, that as well, because you have to figure that when you take into consideration, your monthly expenses, some people will not also take into consideration what it costs you to go out and make the $22,000, for example.
Yeah.
As well as what it costs you in taxes, because, you do have to pay taxes off of your regular job's income, on the hourly wage. Then you have issues of, the company's bottom line, whoever your employer is. Every quarter they look at their numbers and see, are they making the quota for profits? And if they're not making that quota, then the first thing that they look at is cutting back on work labor or salaries.
Right, because it's not important. Employment isn't more as important as the business, because the business supplies employment. So that's why you see our economy. There's so many provisions. There are more provisions for businesses than there are for the people. Because
for employees.
It's the business that provides employment. However, the problem that it's across the board because systematically it's designed this way. It's not designed to keep people afloat, because people that are poor and people that lack financial education will spend the money recklessly, and that's what keeps the economy. That's why they gave out $600 a week for 6 months last year, because they took that and they gave it to people who have never had that kind of money before, and they took all the data of how they spent it.
Yeah.
That's all they care about.
Right.
I feel like you just can start, it's not hard to start doing it. You just can start with basic financial education, teaching people something like as easy as making a budget.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Like I said before, just tracking your expenses. And about like a person that earns less than $22,000 a year, it's considered poor. But why? Why are you saying, like, this is about also motivation and like the power of decision and what you want to do for your life? Because you can have all the tools to be financially educated, but if you don't make the choice, you're just going to stay in the same exact position. So you as a person that are earning just $22,000 a year and you're considered under the line of poverty, what are you doing to get more money? Like, because options, even with this situation, there are many. So you just need to start tracking your expenses and start like, I don't call it sacrifice. I call it like an extra effort for the long term. You can just start making an extra effort and start like saving like penny after penny, dollar after dollar, and start investing in something that can give you more money. What is it? That's a personal choice. I can tell you go invest in Wall Street, go invest in like cryptocurrencies or any of that stuff, because that could be somebody's stuff, but not everybody's stuff. So it's just about that. It's like if you're considered a poor person because you're getting less money, just do something about it, because the government is not going to take care of you the whole time. And you have many options to do it. Now you have financial education. Now you know how to make a budget. Now you know how to organize and plan yourself. Just put everything in action and do it.
Brilliant.
Facts. And I like to chime in.
Okay. So getting back to Rob's point. So Rob, you had touched on a point that I want to also go down that path. We live in a society where, our financial model is capitalism. And in order for capitalism to work, people have to spend. If people don't spend, other people are out of work. Such as in the case of in Europe, for example, where they decided to unify Europe under one coin, affectionately known as the euro.
That was a mistake.
They had countries that their cultural viewpoints on money and usage of money were totally different. Say, for example, Great Britain and France, Spain, Portugal, Italy, Greece, etc. They then had this term called pigs, which was actually supposed to be Portugal for the P, I for Italy, G for Greece, and S for Spain. Because those four countries there, their cultural viewpoints on how to spend money or how to utilize money is not the same as in France or Germany or Luxembourg and etc. So without the generation or regeneration of the economy, or rather to say, you have to spend money in order for others to have income, and those people also in turn have to spend money as well. Here, here in America, as soon as there's a financial rut nationally, the first thing that gets ramped up is construction. All kinds of money is made available for businesses that do construction and businesses that need to construct something, because that will get America back to work. And when these workers, this labor force in that construction field, and there's many, could be electricians, could be carpenters, could be bricklayers, pipe fitters, etc., it gets quite a few people working. And as soon as they start making their money, then of course now they can go out and spend it at restaurants or at the malls and etc. In a gist, this is a very simplified view, but in a gist, this is how our economy works. and how the thought of not spending any money and making the extra effort, as you put it, can also damage an economy, such as what happened in Europe with the euro. Although the euro is still pretty strong.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So you guys hear me okay, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So all of that is based on the perspective that you're looking at the economy from. If you're looking at the economy based on face value and the statistics that are put out there, then you're based on information that you're being told, and you're not based on information that you're actually learning. And there is a difference. Our economy, even though it seems from one perspective is in dire straits, there's another aspect of our economy that has never been in a higher state historically. So now it's hard to have the conversation when you don't have the information. You understand? And ignorance is bliss for the other side. Because if everybody was supposed to be financially stable, it would crash the system. If everybody was supposed to be rich, being rich would have no relevance.
I'm rich, bitch!
Right? So yeah, it is, you're correct. That is how our economy works, because that's how it was established. However, there's more ways to crack that egg and cook that cake.
Damn, this good shit!
It's all about what you're willing to do to find that out. So now, sacrifice, which is where I was going to say I disagree. I believe there is a sacrifice, and the sacrifice that's required is the time you need to educate yourself.
There can never be too much sacrifice.
Because nobody's going to educate you. So instead of watching Netflix for 2 hours, a show that's not going to do anything but entertain you.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
You can spend that same 2 hours on a financial video that's going to teach you about money and how money really works. Listen, I'm 45 years old. Why is it that all the way up to high school, all the way up to my 20s, I believed that our dollar was backed by gold? Where did that come from? When our dollar hasn't been backed by gold since 71. So technically, if I was born in 1975, there's no reason for me or anybody born my time and my age and younger have any reason to believe that the dollar was ever backed by gold. Yet, that's something that a lot of people normally believe to this day. Why? Because it's a purpose, it's part of the system. But you could break out of that system if you put that time in to really educate yourself, to learn exactly how the system works. Not what they tell you how it works. Because what they tell you ain't really how it works. What they tell you is the aftermaths of the systematic workings. It's too late by then. You learn about the aftermath. But right now, honestly, last year, I've never made more money in my life. I probably made more money in 1 year than if I combine any year. I made more money last year than ever because of COVID, because of what I found out, because I took the time to learn and then I took action. But that's really what it is. You have to sacrifice that time. You can't, if you stuck in the way the world was, and you think that world is coming back, you're going to be lost forever. And the only time you're going to realize that is when it smacks you in the face, because reality is upon you. But you can't wait for that. You got to figure this shit out now. You got to transition. You got to learn. And that requires sacrifice, because we already used to what we used to, our leisures, our entertainment. We like watching sports every weekend. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to miss a game for nothing. But that game ain't going to
We like listening to ODC.
Yeah, all of that. But this is part of the education, because if you're providing information to wake somebody up, even if it's just one person that a seed is planted and someone listening to this podcast is like, you know what? He's absolutely right, or she's absolutely right. And they take action, then that's where the blessing, that's the magic right there.
And I totally agree. Now, I would like to ask if we have any listeners out there that would like to chime in and give their viewpoints on this, or maybe even just tell us if this information that we've been going back and forth with questions and scenarios, if you maybe think that there's something in your life that you could do any different right now, or start to anyway.
I want to introduce our second guest, if you don't mind. Yali is here, and I want her to chime in on some things. So it's our podcast consultant. And Yali, you there?
You might have to unmute
Are
yourself.
you off mute?
She's the queen with this app. She should know. She's calling in.
Oh, calling in. Hold on. I think I have to connect her. That's my fault. There she is.
Hello, ya Yali llegó.
Hey, Yali. Yeah. There you go. There's your ODC welcome. It goes on for a while. I don't know. They love you. They love you. All right, go ahead.
Woo! Woohoo! Well, I was listening to what you guys were talking about, and I'm like, man, these are some great points. So
yeah, I know. I see your little notes.
Yeah, I definitely agree with, the best investment anyone can do is in education. Education has a way of opening your eyes to seeing the world differently.
I want to say something. Someone was saying, like, can someone speak to the ideology that in order to have the rich, you must have the poor? I want to say something about that. Like, obviously, for somebody to be successful in their business, that person needs to have a team. And eventually the team is going to be employees. I can be saying that, yes, you need financial education, you need to track your expenses, you need to make a budget, everything that I've been saying through all this hour, but no everybody wants to do it. I feel like right now at this point, with all the information you have, it's like, do you want to do it or do you want to still in that position? Because if you don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. So in what position are you and what position do you want to get to?
And it all boils down really to self-discipline as well.
Yes, totally.
Facts.
Correct. If I may add, so I was an impulsive shopper. I had to buy at least a blouse a day.
Wow.
Whatever it was. I had this problem, especially when I was in the military. I was bored living on the ship. I had money to spend, but I didn't have a house, so I didn't have to pay rent. So what would I do? I'd just go shopping. And had I been smart back then, I would have invested in my TSB like everybody else was doing, instead of partying in my 20s and all of that. But now that I'm in my 30s, I've learned that education is key. And I'm not going to say that just because education doesn't have to be just college, because I have a degree and I think that it was a waste of money. And don't stab me yet. I'm going to tell you why. So I invested in a tourism and management degree, and luckily I used a GI Bill, so I didn't have any debt from that. But I took out some student loans because I wanted to travel the world. So again, I thought, well, do I need this loan? Well, I could pay it off later and this and that. But then I thought about it the long run and how that would make me a different person. So I invested in that. I see it as, even though it was a loan, I still see it as beneficial, because I was able to see the world and learn and gain experience where now other people can benefit. So I'm, as Big Jefe was saying, I'm a podcast manager and consultant. And so I think that with this experience, I bring a different mindset. And I think that I'm really big on education because especially nowadays, it's so accessible and inexpensive. You can just buy a course to learn whatever you want for like under $500. You don't have to take out any debt to go and grab a degree, a bachelor's, and be in debt for like 5-10 years. So I just really wanted to emphasize that people should still continue to build up on their skills and never stop learning so that you can add more value to other people's lives in any way, just like you're doing here with the podcast. I'm sure through your experience, your listeners can enjoy like this conversation that we're having right now.
Well, I want to first touch on your comment about the bachelor's degree and how it's a waste of money. I have to agree with you. I really do. This day and age, it used to be that 30, 40 years ago, you needed a bachelor's degree to be considered to be a professional and to increase your earning potential. These days, having a bachelor's degree just says that you've put in the time and you have the self-discipline to write countless, mind-numbing papers about something that some professor decided that that's going to be your requirement in order for him to give you credit for your class. So because you need that class credit in order to graduate, these days, a lot of different options are available, and they call them certificates. Mm-hmm. And these certificates will get you out there working. Now, it's just like when I was going into the military. There was a recruiter that was at the MEPS office, and we were outside smoking a cigarette together. And he said, "This is the difference of the military and going off to college. It's essentially the same thing. The only difference is colleges or universities, they want you to be a well-rounded person.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
And in the military, they train you to do your job and to do it very, very well, where you're an expert at your job only. They don't care if you're a well-rounded person, and so I think that ideology has kind of translated out there. It used to be like in the information technologies arena. You'd have to go and study, computer science for 4 years and do all this, all these projects, computer languages and networking and so on and so forth. And then you would go out into the real world and say, okay, I have this bachelor's of science, in information technologies, and your starting salary would be somewhere around the 28,000 mark. I'm talking about 20 years ago. These days, I don't know what it is. But then, all these companies like Microsoft and Novell and Cisco's, they all came up with their own little certificates where they focus solely on the job itself. And those people who did not go to college would walk into a place already having all of their essential tools. Yes, brother man.
Hey, bro, check your speed. I don't know if I'm sounding fast too, but you're sounding like you're on speed or something, bro.
No, I'm just, my usual talking.
Or are you just very, very hyper?
I'm not really high on drugs, so you can stop talking your nonsense on my time.
Perhaps I might come off as being hyper, Jeff.
All right. Well,
basically, the point that I'm making is there are many ways of becoming a professional without having to spend, $100,000 and be in debt for the next 15, 20 years with student loans.
Right. And then by the time you graduate, most of everything that you learned is already expired.
Exactly.
And now kind of like trying to bring it back to the relationships aspect. Did you cover that already?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
what exactly are you referring to?
Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to kind of add my 2 cents about that. Relationships overall with friendships, friendships or even with your spouse or your children, right? All of these are relationships. And so for those of us that are parents, sometimes you have to budget for their needs. Like Naya always recommends to budget and all of that. So sometimes I think somebody's like too close to their mic. So for example, with my son, I'll tell him that he only has like an X amount to use during the month. So since a young age, I think that it's important to instill the budgeting process, but also not to like put like some type of like something in their mind that when they grow up, they're going to always think about scarcity. So it's important to just let them know that there's enough abundance in the world for everybody, and that just because I cannot allot this amount for you to go and spend on a PS4 game doesn't mean that you're not worthy. It just means that we're not using the money for that right now. So I think that even when you're talking to your friends, like it's sometimes awkward when you go to dinner with a friend as a Latina, when you go with somebody invites you to go eat, typically the person that's inviting you to go out to eat, they pay.
That's what my mom said.
That's part of the cultural differences.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's why you need to establish like from the get-go, so that you're not sitting there staring at each other like who's picking up the tab.
Let me tell you, I got a funny story about that.
All right.
I was unemployed once, and well, I've been unemployed a lot in my life, but that's beside the point. But anyway, so we went to dinner, right? Or lunch, actually. I went to lunch with this other unemployed friend of mine because, we had nothing to do, right? It's like Friday, got nothing to do.
You ain't got shit to do.
So we went out, and this mug, I mean, he didn't pay. He looks at me when the bill comes. I'm like, I'm unemployed. Your family got money. Like, I didn't say that, but I wanted to. And so, I pull out my wallet because, I want to be nice. So I paid the first time, right? And then we went out to lunch again. Second time, like the week later or something like that. I'm thinking this motherfucker's going to pay this time. Excuse my language to you ladies. But so he sits there and he does the same thing. I'm like, this motherfucker ain't going to pay.
Y'all ain't never got no money. I hate to live around a bunch of broke ass people.
I had to take out my wallet again. And my wife is like, why are you spending all this money on lunch? And, lunch is not, inexpensive. If you go to, this was in Maryland too. So, we went to nice places. I'm like, I ain't going to lunch with this dude no more. Like, no more. Especially if he don't pay. I mean, come on. I ain't a date or nothing, but damn.
At the beginning of your story, bro, I was thinking, oh, that sounds like us, right? We've gone out many times, unemployed, to go eat and stuff like that. But as you get to the punchline there, I started thinking, I said, no, that doesn't sound like us, But here's my advice, bro. You should have scheduled your lunches for like a Monday or a Tuesday, not on a Friday.
Gotcha.
So how did you establish boundaries?
I was about to say that. So do you see the importance of boundaries? Like if that happens to me, first you shouldn't allow that to happen, not even the first time. Of course.
I know. It was my fault. I mean, I shouldn't have went to dinner with this dude. To lunch with this guy.
No, it's easy. When you go out with a person like that, you just ask the server to split it. Can you please 50-50, like two different checks, please? And with that person is just going to understand that you are not going to pay for them.
or better yet, he invites you out to lunch and you're both unemployed. Hey, bro, I'd love to, but
I ain't got no job.
Right? I have no job.
Out front, the facts.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if he says, "Oh, don't worry, I got you,"
exactly.
Now, if he says, "Don't worry about it, I got you,"
You know what?
right?
Yep.
Then that's
and
a
he was
different
probably
story. You've already established that boundary that you're broke and you don't have
Right.
it to be spending out.
But
having
he also
lunch
probably
just
saw
because you guys are bored on a Friday.
he
Now,
probably
it
just
would
saw
be
the
a
fact
different
that I was doing
situation. It would be a different situation if he says, "I got you." You guys eat real good, and he's ordering up a filet mignon with the shrimp, and the top shelf, liquor, right? And then when the bill comes, he said, damn, I forgot my wallet.
Next time, pull out that PB&J.
Right.
Yeah,
I give
man.
that to him,
Or
and then
before
I
you
order.
open the
Right?
door to the restaurant, hey, you remember to bring out your wallet, bro?
Right. Subtle hints.
Hey guys, I
Well-
I really enjoyed this talk with you today.
Yeah, we enjoyed you too.
I need to leave now. I have a couple
Not a
of
problem.
commitments
And-
that I need to.
I actually also have to get going back on the road. It's been a pleasure talking about this topic. I can go on about it for months without nonstop, and I'll definitely seem like a crackhead, on speed talking.
I swear you sound like Alvin from the Chipmunks, man. But anyway, Naja, it was great having you on our show.
Thank you so much. I really
All right.
enjoyed. Bye, guys.
Come back anytime.
Bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye.
All right, thank you guys. It was a great show.
So, Yali, you still there? We're not done with you.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So,
all right, guys. So I'm just gonna sign off now.
Go ahead, man.
I apologize.
You're
I
good.
don't
Thank
have extra time, but I really enjoyed the topic and the conversation. Rob, let's do it again. It's always a pleasure to
Rob,
talk
stay where
money
you
and
are.
be your devil's advocate.
Yes, always.
All right.
All right, bro.
Thank you very much, and it was a pleasure meeting all of you.
Likewise, Ulika.
Well, bro, it's about
Thank
time
you.
you told me that, man. 1989 we met, bro.
Yes, 1989. Yeah, that's been a long time, and I'm still
And now
trying to
you tell
rack
me it's
my
a
brain to
pleasure,
make
right?
sure you're not telling the story about you going off, and I'm just making sure it's not me.
Later, bro.
All right, bye.
Take a break right here. We'll be back after this.
Baby, ya yo me enteré, se nota cuando me ve. Ahí donde no has llegado, sabes que yo te llevaré. Y dime qué quieres beber, es que tú eres mi bebé. Y de nosotros, ¿quién va a hablar si no nos dejamos ver?
Y a veces es dolce, a veces es vulgar. Y cuando te lo quito, después de los paris, las copas de vino, las libras de Mari. Tú estás bien suelta, yo de safari. Tú me ves el culo fenomenal.
We're back. So, Rob, any more questions or comments?
Yeah, actually, right now, a little history and background in our current guest would be dope.
Great question.
Okay.
You got the floor.
Thank you. Well, my name is Yali Cristina. I go by Yali. I'm a podcast manager and consultant, and I run Virtually Cristina. And I am from Texas. I'm living in California. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran, also like big jefe. And and then
Yeah, she's a
I
Navy
also
vet.
Yeah, I'm a Navy veteran, and
Yep.
I help people in the BIPOC community to launch their podcast, and that's me. That's a little history about me.
Awesome. And you said you also own a boxing gym.
Yes, I do.
I saw you online, but I didn't know you owned it.
Yes, it's called Savage Boxing Gym. My husband is the coach, and he runs the show, and I run all of the back end things.
Nice. I seen you stay in shape.
Yes, I do. I also teach classes in the morning, but I don't say that too much because I don't want people to think of me as a fitness instructor because I'm just trying to stay behind the scenes, but I like to work out and I just let women join me.
So go ahead, Rob.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, what's more your passion? Like, podcasting, like podcast manager, I know you do the working out. What's more of your passion?
Well, I love podcasting. I'm a podcast addict. I don't have a podcast myself because, it takes a lot of time to edit and to do all the marketing. And I do it for all my clients. So by the time that I can only imagine that I would have to probably outsource mine. I am thinking about launching a podcast probably this summer. I'm just trying to and you'll definitely be a guest.
All right.
But as for my passion, so definitely podcasting, but I equally enjoy the fit lifestyle. It's just always been something that I've done. I started working out since second grade. I was in the track team. I was a cheerleader.
Wow. Go damn. Go damn. Go damn. Go damn. Go damn. Go damn.
I've just always been busy, and fit is just a lifestyle. So I don't really consider it. I guess I don't consider it my passion because to me, working out is just like having lunch or dinner. It's part of your life. Yeah, I just have to do it. And then podcasting.
I wish I could say that. I look like the guy who eats McDonald's every day. That's just the genes. I guess it's the genes. Literally and figuratively, just the genes.
The genes? What gene size? No, I'm kidding.
Right. Exactly.
TMI.
I'm kidding.
Okay, let's get back on track.
Right. Yeah. So you mentioned Virtually Cristina?
Yes.
Right? Virtually Cristina. What is that?
That's the name of my podcasting business.
Ah, okay.
And so what I do is I manage podcasts for my clients, and I do everything from preparing them for the launch, coaching them throughout the launch, scripting, editing, branding, anything you can imagine from that takes in the production. I put my hands in all of that.
So question, because I know that over time, digital platforms, podcasts are one of the earlier digital platforms. And then it's evolved to media that involves pictures. And now we have video, which is usually the first go-to now. But have you seen, especially with the last year, enough growth in podcasting?
I've seen it grow so much. I think that everybody it's gone mainstream now, certainly, because podcasting has existed for over a decade, and some people have that purple icon app where it used to be iTunes, right? And then they didn't even know what it was for, and suddenly they changed it to Apple Podcasts, and everybody knows what it is or has listened to a show. I do know some people that do not like podcasts, but I think they're so beneficial because you can target just anybody, because if you are busy, people are busy, right? They can listen to you while they're at the gym. They can listen to you on their road trip. They can listen to you while they're on lunch break. So they're so easy to consume versus videos. Yes, that's amazing to look at the host and all of that. And especially if you put it on YouTube, because YouTube is owned by Google. So
yeah, we're trying to go to YouTube.
It's searchable. That would be completely beneficial to your podcast. Because you would be searchable, especially if you add like some great titles. And I'm just going to throw a value bomb while I'm here. So definitely try coschedule.com. And when you're there, you want to search the headline analyzer. So whenever you have a title idea, you go in there and you type it out, and it'll score the title for you, and it'll tell you like, oh, if it's in red, that's a shitty title. May I say that? Or it'll score it as a yellow, and that's an average title. And then if you get a green, then that's the perfect title. Just go with that, and always use numbers for your title. People like numbers.
Really?
You can even use this analyzer for your blogs, for your captions, for just about anything.
And what was it called again?
It's Headline Analyzer, and you can find it at coschedule.com.
COSCHEDULE?
Correct.
Coschedule.com.
Yeah.
And that's a very important tool, because when all searches are run by algorithms, so they're kind of giving you the heads up on what's already working. So that's good.
Correct. Yes, and so definitely now, especially with everybody nowadays wanting to be a CEO and founder of something, they want to start a podcast to define themselves and set themselves apart from everyone else.
I feel like you're talking about me.
No. No.
I'm saying I want to set myself apart.
I'm not picking on anybody.
That part.
Yes, and there's nothing wrong with that. So you're definitely building a brand. Congratulations on launching your merch store.
Yes, I was going to mention that. Yep.
That's great. That's one way to monetize.
Thank you. Yep. A little bit,
Yeah, and so the good thing about podcasting, since we are on the money subject and finance subject, I wanted to say that with podcasting, there's so many ways to monetize, and certainly the merch is one of them. But if I may, I would like to comment on other ways to generate income, because if you're going to be investing time, you'd certainly want to harvest something from something like podcasting. So you can definitely, I really like that you chose to use Podbean for this, because people can give you gifts through here.
Yeah, I'm liking it. I'm loving it, actually.
Yes. I just sent you a gift. That's why I have a little crown on my photo.
Thank you.
So for anybody listening, or when in the future, if you listen to Big Jefe, you can go to this square here. It says send gift. You can buy some beans and deliver them. So guys, I know that you give a lot of value here, and so it's always important to support your host or your podcasters. So certainly that is one way to monetize. It's not a lot, but it's something. And then you can also create a Patreon group on the patreon.com, and you can release private podcasts that are accessible through a membership. So that's another way to monetize. And you can also do Venmo. And one of my clients, I set him up with that, but you can certainly set it up yourself through Venmo, and you can encourage your listeners, your family, or your friends, and just about anybody. And maybe you can do like a campaign, and you can tell everybody to go to that link for Venmo, so you can take donations that way.
Okay.
And you can also have digital products. So that way, because, inventory, I used to have an e-commerce store. So I know that stuff go out of style. They, the moths come in and start eating at your, this stuff has happened to me. So one way is doing digital products. So I don't know if you have any of those yet, but you can do like ebooks, and it could be just anything. It could be like a checklist. And do you have any questions so far?
No. That's a lot of good information, but Rob might.
Yeah, I mean, if someone wanted to get started with a podcast, like what would you recommend their first step be?
The first step is to define what you want it to be about, because you don't want to talk to everyone. You want to talk to one person. And everyone is kind of like a clone. Have you noticed? Yes, we're all unique, but we have similar values and similar likes and dislikes. For example, like let's say you make a, so definitely define that. I don't want to veer off too much, but, and then once you have that, then I would suggest you come up with a title. A lot of people take a ton of time with that. And so you can always go reserve your name by buying a URL, right? So you can claim the name, so nobody else takes it. But you also want to make sure that you search it through Apple Podcast, the directory, and all of the other directories, so that there's no other podcast with that name. And if there is, you can tweak it and then also check it out and do your research and check, like, well, is this still active? Mm-hmm. And if it's not active, because a lot of podcasts fall off for poor planning on their 7th or like 8th or 9th episode because of poor planning, because they don't do this research. So if, let's say that you want to name it, I don't know, let's just go Savage Boxing Podcast, and someone else has it, but they haven't produced anything since 2017. Well, you can contact them, ask them if you can have it, if they can release the name, because a lot of the stuff, so you can do that. So I would suggest like starting off there and then getting your cover art, and that would be like the most basic, like where you should start.
All right.
And I've heard also as an advice, just start.
Yeah.
Like don't, keep putting it off, because then you're just gonna be like, okay, maybe I should, maybe I.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a lot of people, and I've invited a lot of people to this live, but some people don't want to call in because they're afraid of their voice or sounding a certain way or whatever. I'm not in that mold. I could give a
Well, I don't give a fuck.
But
but
I I just feel like just start, and I just did. I did, and I enjoy having like you guys on and just talking to everybody, reaching people. You know what I mean? And if I can provide some good content like today, then it's a bonus. You know what I mean? But yeah, I love entertaining. So.
Exactly. Oh my God, you just took it out of my mouth. So yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, because some people say, well, I don't sound that good. Like, okay, you're not a singer, you're a podcaster. And a lot of people,
they're not expecting anything like grandiose.
Yeah, like an opera or whatever, like an R&B voice. Like, no.
Right. They're not going to see Hamilton. Right?
No.
They're just coming to see ODC.
Exactly. And another thing is that some people think that they have to be giving value all the time. It's fine. Like, you can just entertain people. Yep. You don't have to educate all the time. You can make them laugh. You can share your experience or other people's experience if you're interviewing.
The force is strong in this one.
I love to have the fun, you know what I mean? And I know Yulika does too, but he's more like the serious type, like he'll get deep into a discussion. And Rob here has the passion, which I love, right? But, I feel like, we can all just put that together. Like you said, you don't always have to be an educator or, talking about certain things. You could talk about anything.
Yes, and then you can always describe that in your summary or in your episode, like, hey, this is what it is, and whoever, just clear. And so whoever stumbles upon it and they like what you're describing there, then they'll join and listen. And I think it's awesome that you are doing this live, or because
I'm glad you told me about it.
Yeah, because they can send you. You can do this on Station Head too. Have you heard of that app, Station Head?
Yeah, I looked that up too, but I didn't get too in depth with it. So
okay, that's fine.
Is that pretty cool too?
That one is just like what you're doing here with the live. So you would just open your account. You do have to have a Spotify Premium or Apple Music a paid version so that you could start your rooms and you could do this. But the good thing is like it's almost like Clubhouse, but you don't need an invitation, and you can just everybody could just hang in there and they can send you money. I think it's like $1. Like they can give, it starts at $1. So if they like what you're doing, if they're making them laugh, just being fun, whatever it is that you're trying to do, and people will give you money for that.
Nice. All right, well, I appreciate all this information, man. This is it's a wealth of information, and it's great, So yeah, if I don't want to hold you up anymore, Yali, but I appreciate you, taking the time to be on this with us and letting us know all that information. And having fun with us.
Yeah, of course. No problem. I appreciate you inviting me. I know that you guys have already been on here for a while.
Yeah.
So I won't take more of your time.
Yeah, I usually do an entertainment portion. And I was gonna go ahead and do it. If you wanna stay on with us.
Oh no, that's
you don't have to say anything. Or
go ahead and do it. I'll log off and I'll just listen in. I'll be in the audience.
Cool. Sounds good. All right.
Bye.
Have a good one. There you go. Yali Cristina, ladies and gentlemen. So, do you have time for me to go over my entertainment portion?
Yes, sir.
All right, good, because I didn't want to do it by myself, all by myself, But thank you, man. Thank you for being our guest host, bro. And I'm gonna go ahead and get into the notable deaths. All right, actress Cloris Leachman. I know you know her from Facts of Life. Remember the second Mrs. Garrett? Basically.
Yes.
Yeah, she died at 94. She died on Tuesday, actually. Supposedly of natural causes, man. 94 years old, natural causes. This is where I want to go. I want to go in my sleep, 90-something years old. And then, my grandkids or great-grandkids going, man, that was a funny dude, man. Just,
I hear you.
He didn't give me shit, but he was funny.
Hey, don't put that out there. Don't put that out there.
I know. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, future in-laws.
Yeah.
Anyways, right. Got to think ahead, right?
Yep.
So, I also, it's probably going to turn a little serious here because I have a friend. He's in Australia, right? He moved to Australia. He became a citizen, and everything, and he loves it. He met this, woman and got married, and so he's living there. But however, his mother recently on Tuesday, just like Cloris Leachman, passed away. And I think it's not COVID. I think she was, I don't know if she was sick or whatever, but I didn't, like I said, I have a funny thing about deaths. I don't really ask too many questions, but I do honor those who have passed. And, especially if they're my friend's mom. So, this is for Rod Sanders. He told me that because of shit going on with COVID, he can't get to her funeral in America. And that was so sad when he told me. It broke my heart, man, and so this is his words, but he said COVID has created 44-hour flights. 44-hour flights. I don't know if he meant 4-hour flights, but 44-hour flights sounds bad. I mean, wow. Yeah. And he said no guarantees about connections. And then he said for $25,000 and the need for a negative COVID test before even getting on the plane. So anyway, Roderick, I'm sorry, man. I'm so sorry for your loss and that situation you're in. I just wanted to put that out there. And last but not least, got the word on Thursday night that Cicely Tyson passed away, and she was 96.
Yes. Yeah.
Former actress, American actress, former fashion model. in career spanning more than 7 decades, bro. Woo. She's become known for her portrayal of strong African-American women in movies and TV. May they rest in peace, all these folks. And now it's time. I wanted to go back in time here on this date. I like to hit up on history and some film and what happened back in the day on this day. So
I came here in a time machine that you invented. Now I need your help to get back to the year 1985.
This baby hits 88 miles per hour. You're gonna see some serious shit.
Whoa, this is heavy. The time machine? What of a DeLorean?
You're gonna see some serious shit.
On January 30th, 1487. Let's go all the way back to 1487. I know that's a long time. I was there. And bell chimes were invented. Let me see if I have a bell chime here. Hold on. I don't think I have a bell chime in this thing. No, I don't seem to have that. I have a whistle. I have this. It sounds like a bell. All right.
So they're saying the first bell chime was invented here in the States or like ever?
They just say, yeah, pretty much ever. Yeah, it was just invented. They didn't say where. They didn't say if it was just one place. But yeah, bell chimes were invented in 1487 on this day. So in film in 1931, City Lights, an American silent romantic comedy. I guess it was probably one of the first silent rom-coms, right? It was directed by Charlie Chaplin, and it was starring himself and Virginia Sherrill. Premiered at Los Angeles Theater. And in music, and because of the Super Bowl, this is why I said in music, 1994, Natalie Cole, not Nat King Cole, but his daughter Natalie sang the U.S. national anthem at Super Bowl 28. So, and now we're about to have Super Bowl 55. Is it?
Yep, 55.
And in sports, again, 1983, Super Bowl 17. And the reason I'm mentioning this one's because it was in Rose Bowl, Pasadena, California, at Washington Redskins, who are now known as the Washington Football Team, and that's my team. I know. They beat Miami Dolphins 27-17, and the MVP was John Riggins, who I don't know if you ever watched football back then. Well, not back then. Well, back then, yeah, we were live. Yeah, we were like 8 years old. I didn't really watch football back then. I didn't get into like sports until I was like 20-something years old. And wow. But yeah, the Skins became my team because of my uncle and Maryland connection and all that stuff. But John Riggins was a beast, man, a monster. Like, just had these big old, kind of like Derrick Henry of today, you know, like the big Bo Jackson thighs, you know. And he would just take like 3 guys to the end zone with him on his back. So, you know, he was the MVP of that game. Now for some off the cuff stuff, which I also call random shit.
Random? What does he mean? Not random at all, maybe. Like there's some pattern here.
So, I want to first say that we are not a political show at all, like by any stretch of the imagination, because, you know, I don't like to get into politics, but we can, you know, I don't mind somebody else talking about it. But January 20th was pretty cool. I gotta say, man, you know, because I felt like we were hostages in our own country for 4 years now, and they finally freed us. You know, they finally freed the hostages right after the whole Capitol thing went on, and that was like the grand finale. And hopefully, in the future, it'll be a lot better. But we'll see. I also want to inform our listeners of some exciting news regarding the podcast, and we mentioned it earlier, but we do have a merchandise shop online now, and I just want to mention that and also give us a round of applause for completing that. Thank you very much. And a couple people already bought stuff from there, which I want to thank you too. I want to thank everybody who's supporting me and who's supporting Yulika and I, and even if it's just listening, you don't have to buy anything from me, you know what I mean? But ultimately, that's a goal, right? Like becoming monetized and whatever. But the support goes a long way for me, especially if you know me. And many of you have already gotten an email to help us kick off the grand opening of it. So if you haven't, just look through your email, your spam, whatever. It comes from Off the Cuff podcast@gmail.com. And if you've been paying attention, you probably saw another email that I sent out recently about the code, the discount code that you can use. And it's actually big, BIG, Jefe, JEFE, 10GR. So they gave me that code so you guys can save a little money, and whatever you buy on there. What else I got here? And also, if to get to the shop, you'd go to Team Locker. I don't know if I have this right. Yeah, teamlocker.squadlocker.com, and then look up ODC Pod Shop. ODC POD Shop. So, switching gears, I want to talk a little about something that pisses me off, and that's toxic people. So you can chime in on this if you'd like, because I know you've met some toxic people in your life, right, bro? So you ever had a so-called real friend, right? They say, "Oh, I'm your real friend. I'm the one who's gonna tell you the truth, right? And truth hurts and all this stuff, right? But I gotta tell you because I'm your real friend." Yeah, that's cool and everything, but what about when they judge you all the time? When they act as if they're better than you all the time? Do you need those people in your life, really? I don't think so. I don't think that's really helpful. Do you? I mean,
well, it depends. It depends, because if there's a dynamic in the relationship where, if that's how y'all vibe, sometimes information.
What if it's not?
Needs to be. If it's not,
what if that's out the window?
Some new shit. Yeah, if it's some new shit, then that's something that needs to be discussed and brought to the other person's attention. Right. Because if y'all friends, right, then y'all have to respect each other. You know what I'm saying? And,
I believe so. But I believe in respecting others. Yes.
But at the same time, mm-hmm. we also have to give that courtesy. Yeah. You also got to give that courtesy and respect to the other, that they see you and honor you that much as a friend. Yeah, that they feel like this is what they need how they need to bring it to you, because maybe they see something you don't. So you have to, if you call yourself a real friend,
I think that's what
to be open to consider all options.
Right.
You might not like it. Get you. You might not like the delivery. Maybe you feel like they're not taking a lot of things into consideration. Mm-hmm. However, if the place they're coming from is a positive and sincere and is looking out for your best interest, then you have to respect that and be like, yo, I feel you on that. And, however, it's not like that, but I get it. And I appreciate that time and the time you take to try to put me on point. Because that's love. Right. You got to be open. If you honor the friendship, then, you got to at least try to look at it.
Well, okay, so what if you're done with the friendship? I hate to say this, but, I mean, what if it's happened often, and then you told that person before, don't disrespect me like that. Like, I feel disrespected. That offends me. It's like, to me, it's the equivalent of telling somebody, my name is Cologne, not Colon, and you keep calling me Colon, I'm gonna fuck you up. You know what I'm saying? I may not fuck you. I'm too old for that shit. But I'm just saying, I'm gonna cut that out. I'm gonna pull the plug on that relationship. I don't need friends like that. Like, it's just my opinion. But
No,
seriously,
that goes back to
I don't know.
that respect level. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that respect.
yeah.
If if
Gotta
it's
keep that
multiple
up, and I
times that
think
you bring it to their attention, they still not,
they just still go, and then other people be like, "Oh, that's just the way they are." And no, I don't. I never accepted that. I'm sorry. I know
if that's the way they are,
I'm a certain way too. I'm a certain way too, but I'm not accepted by everybody.
But then does that reflect them or does that reflect you? Because you also had something to do with making the relationship happen. You know, it wasn't like a one-sided thing that you decided to be your friend and now it's just happening. Nah, y'all.
I'm gonna tell you this. This particular person, this particular person, I would say, was known sarcastic, like being sarcastic, being very open about and blunt. Like even if it hurts your feelings or whatever, they'll tell you what you need to hear, which is great. I appreciated it for years. I've been friends with this person for like 20 something years, right? But lately it's just been more so like almost like a jealousy factor. And maybe I'm just thinking of myself as too much. I don't know. But to put me down, and judge me because I'm, in a certain situation in my life or whatever it is that they see fit to judge. I don't know. It just, to me, just seemed a little much. I pulled the plug on it. And I'm not really sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
I'm not really sorry. We had a good friendship. But I feel like I probably said, I know I said some shit now, but I said before I said some stuff maybe that, may have offended him and whatever. So, and friends are going to fight like brothers, like sisters, whatever. But I don't know. I'll see. I'll probably revisit it. Maybe I won't. I don't know. But I just wanted to get that off my chest, and I appreciate your feedback on it. Do you have any random shit you want to throw in here in this segment?
Just random?
Just random shit that just,
Shit, you know me. I talk money randomly all day, every day.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, talk money, but that's not really that random then.
well, no. There's different ways to get it though. You know what I'm saying? From an entrepreneurial perspective, you know what I'm saying? It's all about perspective, right? So, right now there's a lot of opportunity, and this is kind of touching base on what was spoken about earlier. In fact, Yulika mentioned
money wise.
Yeah, just opportunity wise, how the world has shifted. There's a lot happening to a lot of people where a lot of people can't keep up. But it's also
especially
based on
during this time,
right? And that's what it is. It's because we're facing a new time, and it's changing things that we were comfortable with. So what's happening is that the state of mind of our society is just no longer comfortable because it's comparing it to what once was, right?
Right.
So, and then there's this expectation or hope that it's going to come back. What once was is coming back, right? And unfortunately, that is not what's happening. It's not what's happening. The shift is a reset. Even Powell, the head of the Feds, who's giving out all this money to everyone to help keep everyone afloat, he's even stated that the economy is shifting, and it's shifting something that's more towards technology, which he fears is going to hurt people in the long run if they don't know how to shift. Meaning, if you're sitting back expecting the world to come back to what it once was, you're going to miss the boat, and you're the one that's going to hurt the worst. So it is imperative that because of everything's happened over the last year, that people just really take the time to make themselves aware of what's going on. Don't expect a world that you want to live to come back. It's dead. That world is dead.
Right.
It's not coming back. There's going to be more, sadly, but what
maybe
what
a good opportunity to
what time in history has ever remained the same? No time in history has ever remained the same.
It all moves on.
So why should COVID and post-COVID be any different? So let's not disillusion ourselves. Let's not disillusion ourselves. Let's start acting like we have some motherfucking sense. And I said motherfucking, and I don't regret it because it's real. For real, wake up, people. Let's wake up. Let's really get control of the situation, see it for what it is, and make the right decisions to move forward, not in a way that we would have moved forward yesterday. Gotta move differently.
Right. In a different way. Yep.
Fact.
Yeah, you're right about that. I agree with that. All right.
And if you really want to flip some bread, look into that cryptocurrency. That's all I'm just gonna say.
Cryptocurrency.
Look into that cryptocurrency. I'm telling you, we can talk about that another time, but
no, it has. You're right, though. It has to do with a lot. It has to do with moving on, like you said, a post-COVID era, and then also what we talked about financial stuff. So yeah, man, for sure. Big currency is.
And where's the world gonna be in 20 years? How about that?
Right.
Me and you gonna be old heads in 20 years, but we have kids.
Yeah, for sure.
It's gonna be their world. What are they gonna have to deal with? Educate, what educationally, what hurdles are they gonna have to deal with? Financially, what hurdles are they gonna have to deal with? Taxes, what hurdles are they gonna have to deal with? You know what I'm saying? That's the bigger picture. And, if we take advantage now, we could position ourselves to make that transition easier for them. But if we just go with the flow ain't set up to put us on point. The flow ain't, going with the flow ain't for the people. I'm sorry. As much as the people want to believe that it is, and as much as they say that the system is for the people, by the people, to be honest, none of those people established this country. It was established exactly how it says it. Established for the people. Yep. For the people. A set of rules and guidelines to govern and rule the people. But no one wants to see it that way. So, once you understand how the government works, how the world works, you'll see everything is planned out. And then you can make different moves. Because the moves that everything is set up for us to take is not set up for us to win. It's set us up for us to sustain, for us to maintain, to deal, to accept. That's not growth. Right. That's not prosperity. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's for sure. But let me go ahead and do the film review real quick. It's Badass Flick or Just Pure Shit?
And here we go.
Are you the keymaster?
Wrap it up, fuzzball.
We came, we saw, we kicked his ass. This baby hits 88 miles per hour. They're gonna see some serious shit.
So I'm gonna tell you about one movie I saw last night, which was really good, bro. I don't know if you know Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Sam Cooke, and I'm missing one. Oh, Jim Brown. So they all had a night. One Night in Miami, it's called. It's on Prime Video, and check it out if you like, history, if you like the dynamics between how they interacted, that kind of stuff. They said it was a little Hollywood. The conversations may have not been exactly the same, but it was a really good film, man. And it shows, the lives of all these men, coming together in that one night, and it's really cool. So I just wanted to put that out there. And then there's another movie called Hillbilly Elegy, I think it's called, or Elegy, something like that. Hillbilly Elegy. And the only famous actresses in this movie are Glenn Close and Amy Adams. It's a pretty good movie. It's a true story that shows a boy's life through his lenses. Regarding his relationships with his drug addicted mother, callous grandmother, and, just the area that he grew up in. It's kind of like hillbilly wood areas, that he used to play around in or whatever, the shit that he went through. And it's played by, the mother and the grandmother's played by Glenn Close. The grandmother's played by Glenn Close. The mother's played by Amy Adams. I give it a 5 out of 5 because it's really a heartwarming, in the end story. And now I want to do. I don't know if you have any movies that you want to talk about.
I just recently watched WandaVision.
Oh, really? How was that?
Yeah. Did you know what that is, right?
No, I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
So WandaVision is a new addition to the MCU. For those who are familiar with MCU, that's the Marvel cinematic universe. All the movies that the Marvel is making and stuff like that. So they took Scarlet Witch, right, which is her real name is Wanda, and Vision. They're a couple. So they actually took so they call it WandaVision, and it actually stems from the comic book series because they did have a series together. But what's interesting about it,
yes, what
is that at least the first 2 episodes, I saw the first 2 episodes. It takes place. It's filmed like I Love Lucy. Black and white. It takes place in the same time, which is dope because even though we're familiar with the characters from modern day, the original characters, the original comic books stem from that era. So it's very interesting to see them play out the comic book story, but from that same timeline. The clothes, the dialogue, the entire series so far from the 2 episodes is filmed as if it was, like an I Love Lucy episode. So, and it was actually funny. It was comedic. I was pleasantly entertained by it, considering, it was different. It wasn't what I expected. So anyway, ending that, WandaVision seemed pretty cool. If anybody want to check it out.
Cool. All right, man. Well, I'm going to go ahead on to shout out. As you do shout outs at the end of my show. I like to, acknowledge people and give them some love. So I want to give shout outs to all my friends who actually keep in touch with me. This is going to sound shady, like I'm throwing shade, which I am. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, some people don't know how to keep in touch. That's cool. And the ones who truly care and don't just say that only to judge me later and berate me with their toxic soliloquy, with what I can only surmise to be jealousy based on my flaws. Man. But I digress. Everybody has flaws, so just don't judge them, But I do have to give a shout out to a buddy of mine as well in New Mexico. His name is Robert, coincidentally. Okay. But I've known him for years online, and I've never met him in person. But I know that he's a father of 8 kids. Damn! And he's a very busy man. And unfortunately, his daughter is missing. So I'm praying for his daughter to be found. And Robert, I'm sorry, in New Mexico. I'm sorry that you're going through that again, actually, because he did go through it years ago too. Luckily, they found her, live and well, and hopefully they do that again. Our thoughts and prayers here at ODC are with you and your family. So, any shout outs you got to anybody? Really? Yeah, just or whatever.
Nope. Shout out to that Seahawks. Y'all not on point.
To the CMOS.
Absolutely.
Yeah, get on to that CMOS, people.
Get on to that CMOS.
For sure.
Get that nutrients in your body, especially during this time of COVID.
Especially during COVID.
Vaccine.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than having a strong immune system. So let's get those minerals in your body.
Yeah, I'm about to go on Amazon and see if I could purchase that real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and yeah, for sure, man. Send it to me. And as always, and then I'll actually put that on. I'll put that in my bio.
Yeah.
So, as always, we'd like to thank all of you who've listened faithfully And you can continue listening, following us on Instagram at off_the_cuff, and the is DA, on FB at Off the Cuff Podcast. We're there also on Facebook. And don't forget to email us at offthecuffpodcast@gmail.com. That's OFFDACUFF podcast@gmail.com. And send us your Dear ODC emails, your comments, suggestions, gripes, moans, complaints, etc. Otherwise, we can't do Dear ODC. And I've been wanting to do a Dear ODC. Also, don't forget to go to teamlocker.squadlocker.com. Look up the new ODC Pod Shop. That'll also be in my bio. Support your ODC brothers, man. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, Rob, for being special guest host today, man. You did awesome. Appreciate that, man. Looks like we got 132 hearts.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even know how to give
applause?
hearts on this stuff. I'm glad that the applause. I know, right? Let me do the applause. Hold on. There we go. There we go. We got 132 hearts. Yeah, man. We finished our first live, and thank you so much, man. We'll keep in touch, and as usual, and hope to have you again, bro. All right.
I appreciate it.
All right, man. Peace.
All right.
Peace, everybody.